Is there any doubt in your mind that Michael Proctor might have framed Karen Reed?
No doubt whatsoever in our mind. No doubt whatsoever, and the evidence shows that. The investigations show that.
Good morning, Ms. Albert.
Good morning.
Ma'am, you will recall yesterday I broached the topic with you of how often you and Courtney Proctor speak to each other over the phone. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
And when I asked you to describe the frequency of those phone calls, I didn't put any words in your mouth, did I? I didn't suggest how frequently they were. You came up with the word. When I asked you how often you talked to Courtney Proctor, you could have chosen any word in the English language to answer that question, correct?
Correct.
What was the word that you chose?
I don't remember.
Rarely.
Rarely, yes.
That was your word, correct?
It could have been. I don't really recall. I don't recall. I don't remember.
Rarely doesn't mean to you 67 phone conversations within a 7-month period, does it?
A 67 time period in how many, 8 months?
In about 7 months, 67 times.
It's not a lot. I wouldn't think it's a lot in 7 months.
3 times in one day? Is that rarely?
No, but that wasn't every day. I would.
Regarding all of those 67 phone calls from February 1st until September 6th, do you maintain that during none of those calls, or any portion of those calls, did you and Courtney Proctor discuss the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe?
I do not remember.
He was angry. He was upset by that. So I understand the need that he had to vent to friends, whether it was appropriate or not.
Do you deny discussing that investigation?
I don't deny, but I do not remember.
All right. Well, you admitted yesterday, after having seen the records, that you spoke with Michael Proctor's sister for 12 minutes on February 1st of 2022. Do you recall that?
I don't recall the conversation, no. I don't. It was a long time ago.
On February 2nd, the day that my client was scheduled to be arraigned in Stoughton District Court, we're talking about the 3 phone calls that you made to Michael Proctor's sister before that arraignment that very day. And my question is, certainly you were discussing the fact that she was about to be arraigned, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Did the subject of Karen Reed's arraignment come up in any of those 3 calls on February 2nd, the day she was going to be arraigned, before her arraignment?
I don't remember exactly.
What about the 27-minute phone call that you had with Courtney Proctor at 10:58 a.m. that same day after my client was arraigned in court? Did you discuss the arraignment that had just happened?
I do not remember.
You had already testified that by 2022 you were no longer babysitting for Courtney Proctor's kids, correct?
I wasn't babysitting regularly like I was before.
But that's sort of what breaks me, is when I see them playing and so happy, and I'm like, God, they have no idea that their parents' world is crumbling.
So is it your testimony that you happened to be talking about babysitting on February 2nd for 27 minutes, the same day that my client was arraigned in Stoughton District Court?
I don't remember what I was talking about. It could have been about the kids. It could have been about anything. I don't remember.
Sure. And certainly it could have been about the publicly televised arraignment that had just occurred, correct?
Objection.
So I'll allow this, and then let's move away from this, okay? Can you answer that?
Yes, it could have been. Yes.
Did you tell Courtney Proctor during any of these 67 phone calls that you were a witness in her brother's case?
I don't remember.
Okay. Ms. Albert, you were at the waterfall on the night of January 28th, correct?
Yes.
And you also went to 34 Fairview on the morning of January 29th.
Yes.
Yet, as of the date of these phone calls that we've discussed so far, the February 1st and the February 2nd, multiple phone calls, Trooper Proctor still had not interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
You were finally interviewed by Trooper Proctor on February 10th, about 13 days after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's land, correct?
Correct.
And you told Courtney Proctor that you were nervous to speak to her brother, Trooper Proctor, about this case. Do you remember that?
I do not remember those exact words, no.
All right. Were you worried that one of Trooper Proctor's colleagues might ask to speak to your son, Colin, about what had happened on the 28th and the 29th?
Objection.
Was I nervous they would ask my son?
Yeah, were you nervous that one of the investigators in this case might approach your son to ask him about his whereabouts?
No.
You were interviewed at 5:30 p.m. on February 10th, correct?
Correct.
Where did that interview take place?
At my home in Canton.
Who was present for that interview?
Me, my husband, Trooper Proctor, and Trooper Bukaki.
Michael Proctor agreed to interview you and your husband together, correct?
Objection.
You and your husband were interviewed together, correct?
Correct.
Did either of these troopers, including Michael Proctor, suggest that maybe the two of you should be separately interviewed?
I don't recall.
At 6:17 p.m. that same night, shortly after you had been interviewed, you called Michael Proctor's personal cell phone number, correct?
I don't remember.
His wife Elizabeth and his sister Courtney say they had no idea how much their lives and their families' lives would change.
Do you recall that Trooper Proctor called you back that same day at 6:21 p.m. and that you spoke for about 4 minutes?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you deny speaking to Trooper Proctor for 4 minutes when he called you from his personal cell phone on February 10th of 2022 after you had been interviewed that day?
No, I don't deny it, but I don't remember it.
When did you get his personal cell phone number?
Don't remember.
Years ago?
I'm sure, yes.
Because you've known that family for a long time.
Yes, I have.
On Friday, January 28th, you had plans with your sister-in-law, Nicole, correct?
Yes.
You are close with Nicole.
Yes, I am.
You picked her up at her home in your car.
Yes.
You drove her to the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
And the two of you went for dinner there.
Yes.
Your husband, Chris, came later.
Yes.
Brian Higgins came later.
Yes.
And you knew Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Yes. No, thank you, Ron. I believe you testified you knew Brian Higgins at that time, correct?
Yes.
And how did you know him?
He is a friend of my brother-in-law.
And your brother-in-law would be Brian Albert, correct?
Yes.
And you had some contact with Karen while you were at the bar before you had to leave because of the migraine, correct?
Correct.
And she was just very bubbly that night, correct?
Correct.
That's just her personality as far as you could see, correct?
As far as I knew, yes.
You didn't know her that well, but that's how she always was, correct?
Correct.
You left the waterfall at around 11 o'clock, your best memory?
A little after 11.
And it was a particularly bad migraine that night?
Yes.
And the loud music didn't help you out?
Not at all.
And you drove home?
Yes.
Now, when you got home, your son Colin was not there, correct?
Correct.
He was not out with you at the waterfall.
Correct.
He was out that night, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that he stops by your sister-in-law Nicole's house quite a bit, correct?
Yes.
Colin did not come home at 11:30, correct?
Correct.
He did not come home at 11:45, correct?
Correct.
And when the clock turned midnight, he still wasn't home, correct?
Correct.
Now, at some point, Your husband Chris came home.
Yes.
You testified on direct examination that Chris came home at 12:10 a.m. on January 29th.
That's what time I believe he did, yes.
Oh, that 12:10 a.m. time, did you discuss that precise time with anybody prior to taking the stand yesterday?
No.
Was that coordinated with anybody such that your husband and you gave the same time at 12:10 a.m.?
No.
I believe you've testified that the waterfall is very close to D&E Pizza, correct?
Correct.
But your house on Maple Street is about a half-mile away from the waterfall. Would you agree with that?
About that, yes. Maybe a little less, but about that.
All right. Would you agree it's a 7 or 8 minute walk home from the waterfall if you're walking? I realize you were driving, but if somebody were walking, it would be about 7 or 8 minutes?
Maybe a minute or two less.
Okay. So you would say 6 or 7 minutes would be a better estimate to cover that half mile?
Depends on how fast you walk, yes.
And it was snowing that night, correct?
Correct.
The ground was a little bit slippery.
Yes.
With the court's permission, I'd like to play the waterfall bully video. I think it's exhibit 53, just that portion. If I could have the lights dimmed again. I am going to direct your, do you see where it says CH3?
Yes.
And you see the timestamp up the top, correct?
Yes.
Between those two markers on the video, you're going to see somebody walking by. I'd ask you to pay attention for the next, 6 seconds or so. Stop. Do you recognize that person?
Yes, I believe it's my husband.
Okay. If you can run that. Stop. Okay. Would you agree with me that your husband left the waterfall at about 12:13 and 46 seconds?
Well, yes. I mean, that's what it says on the screen.
Okay. So it was closer to 2:14 than to 2:10. Would you agree with that?
12:14, you mean? Two?
You know what? You're right. 12:14, then 12:10.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing.
Thank you. So if he's leaving at around 12:14, and by your testimony, it would have taken him he was walking home, you knew that, correct?
Yes.
He didn't have a car that night.
He did not.
You had said it takes 6 or 7 minutes. Did you factor in the fact that of the weather that night for your estimate about a 6 or 7 minute walk?
Objection.
Can you answer that question? Is that what you said?
Yes, I didn't factor in the. I don't know.
All right. So your testimony would be you don't know if it would have taken him a little bit longer or anybody.
Anybody, everyone walks at a different pace.
Right, but whatever pace they walk at, given what you saw of the weather that night, is it your testimony that maybe it would have taken a little bit longer than the estimate because
It
of the
could
weather?
have.
Okay. But in any case, let's leave it at 6 or 7 minutes. That puts your husband coming home at around 12:20 or 12:21, correct?
Correct.
All right. Directing your attention to the next morning, you missed a phone call from your best friend, Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And you believe that phone call, I think according to your memory, yesterday came in at 5:55 a.m., correct?
Correct.
That was the time that you gave Mr. Lally when he asked you the question on direct examination, correct?
Correct.
And you were able to recall that time nearly 2 years later, correct?
Yes.
But regarding the 67 phone calls between you and Courtney Proctor that happened after that, you're not able to recall any of those, correct?
I just don't remember them.
The 7 of you were discussing what had happened, correct?
Yes.
At some point, it was decided that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police, correct?
Objection.
I'll let, if this witness knows independently.
Can you repeat that once more, please?
At some point, it was decided among the 7 of you that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police Department.
I don't remember who exactly Jennifer decided. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the discussion.
You knew Michael Lank, correct?
Yes.
And at 8:53 a.m., you sent to Jennifer McCabe Michael Lank's personal cell phone number, correct?
Correct.
And did you then see Jennifer McCabe delete that text message from you?
Objection.
I'll sustain.
You were contacted by the Massachusetts State Police this year about your phone, correct?
Correct.
They left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024?
The state police?
Yes.
About my telephone?
Well, they left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024. You had contact with the state police this year.
Yes.
And they left you a second voicemail on March 25 and then called you again on March 28.
Yes.
You told them that you were sick and you would speak to them on April 1st, correct?
Correct.
And then the state police called you on April 1st, but you did not pick up. Do you recall that?
I do not.
They called you again that same day and you didn't respond, correct?
I don't recall.
But you did learn that they had called your husband on April 1st looking for you, correct?
But I don't recall.
After speaking with your husband, you texted the Massachusetts State Police on April 1st, correct?
I think around that, I don't know the exact date.
All right. And you finally met with the Massachusetts State Police on April 3rd of 2024, correct?
I would assume, I don't know the exact date, but yes.
And during that meeting, the state police looked through your phone for contact that you would have had with Mike Proctor, correct?
Correct.
Did they seize your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they tell you that they had a search warrant for your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they take it back saying that they had to give it to some experts to do an extraction?
Objection.
Sustain.
They just looked through it after you handed it to them, correct?
Correct.
Then they gave it back.
Yes.
You were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 29th for approximately 4.5 hours. Is that correct? About 4 hours. And you were there with a group of individuals, including Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Julie Albert, Chris Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Tristan Morris, and then were later joined by Brian Higgins, correct? You testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed joined your group around 11 p.m. Over the course of those 4 hours that you were there, did you see any sort of tension whatsoever between John O'Keefe and this group? But based on your observations, everyone appeared generally happy and in good spirits. At any point while you were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, did you observe Karen Reed stumbling, slurring her words, or otherwise appearing to be under the influence?
I did not, but again, I never engaged in any sort of conversation with her.
Did you observe your husband and Brian Higgins engaging in sort of practice fighting techniques while you were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill?
I saw them fooling around with each other, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Elder, do you see the two individuals sort of the closest frame to us with their backs turned to us? Female?
Yeah,
I know it's kind of hard to see.
yeah.
Who is the man that's just been zoomed in with the logo on the back of his sweatshirt?
I believe that's Brian Higgins.
Okay. And then the person with that sweatshirt is, you said, Brian Higgins?
I think, yeah. It's a little hard to tell.
Over the other individual who's sitting right next to him. I know this is kind of hard to see because the number's blocking it.
Yeah.
But does that appear to be your husband to the left, kind of in a fighting stance?
Yeah, I think so.